Hi, everyone. It's good to see everyone tonight. Some in person, some virtually. Thank you all for joining us. We'll just give it another minute to see if there are others who are going to join from the waiting room, and then we'll get started. The numbers going up and down and up and down.
Oh, with the
Participant
participants.
numbers, yeah, the attendees.
32,
All right, it seems like we have leveled off in terms of the number of people. The number keeps going up and down. Thank you everyone again for joining us tonight. Apologize for us being a few minutes late. It's good to see you. We will jump right into the agenda. I want to just take a moment from the outset to introduce the newest member sitting at the table with us, our new business administrator for the Township of Ocean School District, Ms. Tina Truba, who you'll be hearing from shortly, but I just want to welcome her here.
Thank you.
As the newest
Yay.
Spartan,
Yes.
member of the Spartan team, so welcome. We'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in a moment. With that, I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Spankowitz for the superintendent's report, please.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple things, because you knew it was going to be very easy. The state's vaccination and testing program.
A little.
Yes, well, it's so uncharacteristic of me to be sarcastic, but I thought I'd try to emphasize tonight. So we have collected the information from our staff. We'll do some cleaning up this week and reaching out to people who did not necessarily let us know, to just be certain that they didn't just forget to let us know. But we're once everything is cleaned up, we should be somewhere right around 79–80% vaccinated, which is good. Which is very good, which is, sort of above the state average, and not surprising, of course, for what our folks are doing every day. So it's a good thing. We did, if you remember last week, I did announce that we had heard from our vendor, and we did have a meeting on Friday with not just ourselves, but all of the districts that are going to be with Rover Labs. And that was fine. And there were still a lot of unanswered questions about, what day and what time and all this. We did find out today, however, from the county superintendent, that they appear to be, they don't believe they're going to be up and running next week. Shocking, I know. So it may be closer to the first week of November before they are prepared to test. So we're waiting now on the guidance to determine, either from the Department of Health or the Department of Education, as to whether we are still going to be required to start testing next week. And if so, we do have some backup possibilities with local testing folks, or whether the state's going to be okay with us just waiting a couple of weeks until our vendor is ready to go. So we're waiting for that guidance. And we'll see where that goes. What that translates to, that 20% translates to about 150 people, just to give you an idea of who will need to be tested on a weekly basis.
Plus students.
Well, the 150 is just our staff, and that's what's required. We will be making this available to students on a voluntary basis. Once again, let me repeat that: on a voluntary basis, we will be making it available to students. I was planning on sending something out tomorrow, next day. I may hold off on that right now, because obviously I want to hear a little bit more about when we are going to start. But very soon, going home, will be information for parents to be able to register their child if they wish to involve themselves in that voluntary program.
Jim, just to be clear, when you say staff, you mean custodians and
all staff.
Okay.
All staff.
Part-time staff too?
Any part-time staff, anyone who is in the district on a regular basis.
Okay.
So it doesn't include the person who's stopping by. It doesn't include the parent who's dropping off their child's lunch. Anybody who's in the school on a regular basis. So it includes all contractors. We have worked with our contracted folks with their organizations, human services, because they provide folks to us, Project Extend, counselors. We've worked, Sodexo is even though there are people, we believe that, they'd like our family here, like our employees, they are contracted, so they're another group that we've worked with. So, we've worked with all the folks, our student teachers, our substitute teachers. So, it's a large group and a large
Natalie
undertaking.
has her hand up.
Natalie has her hand up, sorry.
Sorry.
Yep.
Jim, sorry. What about like the PTA boards and stuff that are in the buildings a lot and interact with students a lot?
If they're in the buildings a lot and are interacting with students, then they absolutely would fall into this. If they're there like once a month for a monthly meeting, that probably wouldn't count. But if we did speak about like if there's someone who does like operates the school stores or something like that, if they're there on a regular basis, then they absolutely would need to be part of it.
Who's
Yes.
going to define regular basis and convey that to folks?
Well, what I've asked our
Folks
folks to
that
do is let us know like who's in their building and in what capacity and how often, and then, I guess the administration will be making that determination. Now, how it's defined in the executive order basically is, those who appear on a regular basis. It's not really defined much.
Yeah, I
different
just
than
want to
that.
make sure that parents have, we're giving parents an expectation that people who adults who interact with their children are going to either be vaccinated or
Mhm.
tested. And
Yeah.
that, if there's a gray area, what is that?
Right. Well, I think anybody, like I said, who's interacting with kids. I mean, I'm just trying to think of, those individuals who would be interacting with kids. More than likely, that's not a once in a while stopping kind of person. That's going to be a person who's going to be there more regularly. I would think that, just thinking of the different capacities. So
I
those
think-
people would fall into it. Yes.
Yeah, Jim, I'm sorry, it's hard virtually to figure out when to jump in.
Yeah.
I think we need to kind of come up with a quantitative. We need something there because that, then you could have one principal who thinks once a month is a lot and another principal thinks once a week.
No, we've been using like at least once a week as a rule of thumb. That's what we've been using.
Okay,
So if someone's in at least once a week, that would be a person that we would, that's kind of the rule of thumb.
good. So like someone volunteers at the library every Thursday, for example,
Correct.
and they, okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And
And by the way, I mean, there's a lot of these folks that, it may take us a little bit, we've been so focusing on our staff, that there are some of these folks, it may take us a little bit to get to them, but we will get to them.
can staff, assuming the vendor is up and running and has the capacity, can staff who is vaccinated get tested as well? If they can elect to, if they want to?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason why they can't. That wasn't really a question that's come up. I think the majority of the questions that were asked dealt with the not vaccinated or those who, didn't share their status or what have you. But I don't think there's a reason why a vaccinated staff member couldn't choose to be a part of it.
Okay.
I'll double check that. And
Thank
see where we are. But
I just
that,
have- I missed the governor.
definitely focused on getting the other ones first. Yeah.
Jim, I know that, someone was telling me today that Wall has told their teachers that are gonna be part of this testing, that they're gonna have to secure their own tests next week. Have we told our staff that just for preemptively, or are we gonna wait and see what the guidance is?
The guidance that came out today said that the lab said that that's what staff members would need to do. But I don't think the lab is necessarily authorized to make that call. So I would like to wait to hear something official from the County Superintendent Department of Health. But in the meantime, we are, we are working with some local folks to have an option available for staff if in fact we do have to move in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. So just along those lines, in terms of where we are with COVID, last week was a pretty good week in terms of activity. It was pretty light, one of the lightest weeks we've had since we started. Today, this weekend was a little bit more. We did get reported to us about 7 cases just over the weekend and today. Point of why I say that is that, we got to continue to be vigilant. We just got to continue to try to do the best we can. And I just, always want to urge at this point that, if you're not feeling well, COVID or not, if you're not feeling well, stay home. There's no point in, even if we're spreading the common cold around right now, it's not a good idea, right? So I do think the precautions that we take in school are having a positive impact and they're working. But at the same time, it's very true. When our kids leave us, they're living their lives. And, we know this, right? They're the same protections that exist within school do not necessarily exist in the general public in terms of restaurants, in terms of masking, things like that, in outside places. So, we just got to continue to remain vigilant and continue, not only for yourself, but remember, if you come to school and you test positive, you're potentially going to be the reason why other kids may have to quarantine, right? So you just need to be mindful of that. And look, we're not, there's no perfect solution here to any of this. And we've been saying this for a year, but you just got to be mindful. If you're sniffly, if you're sneezing, if you have a headache, if you have an earache, stay home and call our nurse and get guidance and, get it checked out if you can. And we'll work to get everybody back in school as quickly as possible. So.
Well,
What
those
else?
7 cases, what, kids, elementary staff, what was the makeup?
Actually, it was 4 at Wanamasa, 3 at the middle school. And it's a mixture of adults and students. And, I don't want to get too much more into it as not to be able to have to, not to identify anyone, but, it was primarily those two schools. Overall, we've been, we're still in a much better place than we were, say, last, early spring and winter. But, and overall, the trend right now in the state is downward a little bit from where we were like a month ago. That's good. But, we do have the time of year coming where we saw things really explode last year, which was Halloween, Thanksgiving, and some of those things. As the weather gets, we've been fortunate that the weather's been warm. So as the weather gets colder, perhaps, more indoor activities, things like that. And we'll see how things go. But, I think, our staff continues to do a great job in working with kids, predominantly, of course, in school, but we do have some kids at home on virtual as a result of quarantine. But overall, I think we're in a much better place than many other districts you've heard and read about. Okay. Last week, we do have the first of our ESS, the parent workshops from ESS is happening October 25th. The first one, it's the introduction on the trauma informed model. So that's October 25th. We'll continue to send reminders, and that is a virtual program. So, all parents will be able to take part in that. So we're excited about that. That's the first of 4. They'll happen about every quarter, every 2.5 months or so. So that should be very good. And, it's also exciting too, that we have a number of student programs that we're trying to provide the most normal, quote unquote, experience for kids. We had the 5th and 6th grade social last week outside. We have our Spartan Scholar live and in person returns Monday night outside at the football field at the high school. So You Think You Can Dance at the high school returns. I would invite any of you board members who think you can dance to show up and show us your stuff.
What night is that?
That I think is a week from Thursday. I have to double check that date, but I think it's a week. I think it's next week. I think it's the 21st, but don't quote me on that.
So
It might be the 19th. Actually, you know what? It might be the 9th. It might be the 19th.
So I can enter Irene into it? Or?
You could, but depending, we might have a board meeting. It might be a board meeting night. So
Only if you're
It
her
is the
partner.
no, it's the 19th.
Say what?
So
Only if
forget
you're
it.
her partner. I mean, that would only.
We may have to dance here at the meeting.
Come on. What are you saying? What? So I'm gonna be partners dancing with her?
She didn't bat an eyelash.
Amy's got the calendar out.
I do. It says on the calendar the 20th. Wednesday.
Which calendar? Wait, is that the? Is that the calendar that's obsolete, the 5 minutes after we print it, that
Yeah,
calendar?
already obsolete, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's the 19th. I'm
It is.
not positive.
And I think the senior superlatives are announced.
Wait,
That
let me
same
look if
night.
it's on the calendar,
As well.
Yeah.
online. Hold on.
All right,
We'll dance.
all righty. I think that's good for me for this evening. If there's any questions from the board on anything?
I do.
Yeah.
Can you give us an update on the accelerated Spartans that's starting tomorrow? Like
In what capacity?
how many spots are we thinking with the staff? How many people have said yes? What's
I
the
don't have
status?
that with me right now. I can give you an update next week. I don't have that with me right
What's the status of Wayside?
now. They've posted, they're waiting for that to close and then they'll be able to, they'll be able to make some recommendations. I think they're looking to start that toward the end of the month. I think the 25th, I think. So there's a little bit of time. Next week, I'll give you a full update on where that is.
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Spankwitz. Moving on to the new business administrator. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I don't officially start in district till 11/1 as a permanent. So I've been coming a couple of days a week, especially to learn a little bit from Ken, who's been a tremendous support. He will pick up the phone anytime I need him, so I really want to thank him for that. But basically, just meeting with the team at this point in time, understanding what everybody's doing, how my office is supporting the rest of the departments. And I'm very excited to start here on November 1, because currently I'm working in Ocean Township in Waretown and the Township of Ocean in Monmouth.
It's
And
very
people
confusing.
are getting very confused.
confusing.
What are the chances?
And aren't they
Very
red?
confusing.
Aren't they red as well, or are they a different color, red and
They're
white?
blue.
Oh, so you can't wear the same
They're blue.
t-shirts.
They're
Okay.
blue.
Blues are Sunday home colors.
Oh.
We need,
So,
yeah, we
you know,
need to get
can-
you
Yeah,
some.
so I
swag.
can't-
That's that's
I'm
an
looking
alternative
forward.
jersey. so,
I'm looking for November 1st.
We are equally. looking
I know,
forward to it.
I know. Thank you.
All right. Good. Thank you. Was there anything that we needed to discuss about the annual workshop memo? Or is that just informational for the board members at this time? It's attached on here.
There was a link. I did see that. for
Just
the,
that it's
for-
coming
I
up
think
on the
that's just
agenda.
coming up.
Virtual,
Yeah.
we don't register for individual classes. You just go on and
Just
you click the
join
links,
there.
exactly, and you
Your
join.
thing.
But everybody's all already registered and they have all your information.
Yeah, the one thing that would probably be helpful is if there's courses we have to take before the end of the year, if there was a way for you
I
to.
could absolutely look at
Find that
that
out,
to see
right.
where we are with compliance.
Right.
I'm not getting, Ken didn't get any nasty grams. So I think pretty much everybody's up to speed, but I will check that and let the
I
board
just
know.
I just gotta plan my 12/31 day, well, so I just gotta make sure I'm all set. for it, so.
Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Well, we welcome and we look forward to when you are here full-time at the start of next month. At this time, we will go to the first public comment session. All motions are posted on the bulletin board of the district website. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of two public comment sessions. The first session will be open for public comment on agenda items only. The second session will be at the end of the meeting and can be on any topic. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any agenda item at this time? For a reminder of those of you who are at home, please send a message to the help desk and Ms. Conway will assist you with asking a question or making a comment. First, we'll go to those who are participating in person tonight. Please come to the microphone. And just as a reminder to everyone, please state your name and address prior to asking your question or making your comment.
Sure. Hi, Steve Clayton, 14 Willow Drive. I see on the LEAP Challenge Grant, for the shared services, and that's just really great. It's, way to keep taxpayer dollars, in check. Are there any other projects with shared services that, are being looked at in terms of, either not this grant, but, future grants or other ways?
Well, we can tag team. So just today, and Tina will talk more about this when we get to the agenda item, but we did meet with Dave Brown, the newer, I should say, not the new, I guess he's been here for a little bit now, newer town manager. We've discussed, this was sort of just a first time introducing Tina, meeting, sort of a meet and greet thing. We did discuss the LEAP grant that Tina will talk about in a little bit, but we also talked about renewing the meeting that took place between the members of the Board of Education and the members of the town council, and which we used to have a number of, a few years ago before COVID, and, kind of bringing that back. And I think there's great enthusiasm on both sides to, continue the work that we do with our town. We've always had a very positive relationship with the town council and with our community leaders. And, I think that will continue. But Tina will talk more about the LEAP grant when we get to that.
Sure,
place.
one other question. I saw about the solar panel projects. And I know I was on the board when we first started building those, and they had the projected savings, X number of years out. Have those savings been achieved?
Yes, no, I
On the ones that we currently have?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we can, certainly you're going to get savings from those things, right? I mean, I don't know if we're in a position right now to be able to speak to the specifics of it. But of course, every time we're generating that is absolutely creating savings for the district. So I'm sure. in
And every
time we can
month,
Speak to that.
John, our buildings and grounds supervisor, takes the readings on the solar panels, and we have to provide that to our energy provider, and we get a credit for that. I don't know the exact dollar amounts we get every month, but we do get credits back for the solar usage that we're not using.
The generation.
Yeah, the generation, correct.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Ms. Conway, there's no one else in here that would like to make a comment. Is there anyone at home in the queue?
Madam President, no, there are no commenters in the queue right now.
All right, thank you very much. So then we'll move on with the agenda. Presentation of minutes, Mr. Weinstein.
Thanks, Madam President. I'd like to approve the minutes in accordance with the Board of Education bylaws number 168, recording of board meetings for October 5th, 2021. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments about the minutes? That we're not giving Jim a hard time on this one?
I'm gonna say, best darn minutes ever taken. So,
Jim, I want to tell you, I read every word
Oh,
twice just to see
I
it.
didn't read them
wow.
because
Because you didn't have
I
to.
forgot that
You didn't have to.
that
They were
yours.
superlative.
Thank you.
They
Thank
were
you.
great.
Get on my red
They were
pen.
great.
I
Nice
think the
showing.
program is successful in
Thank you.
conveying that.
I am happy to relinquish that responsibility.
You're a great pinch hitter on
So I think
the
we just do
minutes.
a
Yes.
yeah or nay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Pralamas is absent, so that's an 8 vote, so we have a quorum, we're good.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
Sure thing.
Financial Management and Resource Services, Ms. Tortorello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fuller. We have 5 items for this evening. 8.1, move to accept the Special Olympics New Jersey 21-22 Unified Champion Schools Grant of $2,500 awarded to Ocean Township Elementary School as per the attached. 8.2, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the comprehensive maintenance plan as per NJAC 624 and the annual maintenance budget amount M1 per NJAC 6:26-12.1 as per the attached. 8.3, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the bids received for a power purchase agreement for solar photovoltaic systems that's a new word, to be constructed at various buildings owned by the Township of Ocean Board of Education. A resolution will be prepared for the next meeting. 8.4, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the following personnel salary percentages to be charged off to the ESEA grant application for the 21-22 school year in accordance with the attached. And 8.5, Board of Ed and Administration will discuss the fiscal year 21 LEAP Challenge grant awarded to the Township of Ocean Board of Education in the amount of $150,000 as per the attached award letter dated April 22nd, 2021. Need a second on 8.1,
Second.
and then we'll turn it over to Tina and Jim.
So do we want to review these?
Well,
Or do we go to
um,
vote first?
Well,
How do you wanna do this?
I think what we normally do, Gina, is, we have a motion for 8.1, so we can do any discussion on that. We can vote on that, and then we can go through the other discussion items.
Yep.
Is that
Is
okay?
that how you want to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so just briefly on 8.1, very exciting. We started with the Special Olympics program. That program is continuing. And hopefully we'll be expanding that program. I think the zone is on, if I'm not mistaken. She's, been, vital in securing a lot of these funds. So Jen, do you want to can you talk a little bit about this newest grant?
Yes, so I see that they're only approving the OTES tonight, but we did get grants for the 5 schools. We last year in the 2021 school year, we started with the intermediate school and the high school, and it was a late start due to the pandemic. So it was really just getting our feet wet into the whole unified program. This year, Jess Vigil and I, who is our coordinator for the unified program, worked this summer to expand it to the 4 schools that do have programming for our more significant population. So we are increasing our services with United program and offering more support throughout the district with all students. So there should be 4 schools that are being approved.
Yeah, and that may have been just a oversight, on our end administratively. So we'll let's do the OTS one tonight. We'll get those others on for next
Okay,
week.
great. So
If you
There-
could just give me a list, Jen, of what that
Yeah.
is, I'll make sure Becky includes it,
Yeah.
but it's all the same $2,500.
no, the
Different.
elementaries are at 2,500. The intermediate and the high school are more significant than that.
Okay,
Can Ms. Zona go over, what is this $2,500 and for? Is this to cover the coaches that we are going to name at some point later on? Like, when does practice
So
start for the students?
It's a lot of things. At the elementary level, it's a smaller program where it's more in-house of whole school engagement. There's some playground activities that would be involved. But at the intermediate and secondary level, there's more of a team sport, intramurals, and then hopefully in the future, we're looking to be able to establish our own team to compete against other districts.
So what is the $2,500 for? Wow,
It's
for example.
part for the coordinator, the stipend for the staff, but mostly just the supplies, and if we wanted to bring in any kind of speaker or something like that, they give us money for that.
And this is all in school activities, not after school, right?
Not after school, no.
Okay,
At the elementary, it's in
Elementary.
during school hours.
okay.
I mean, if we're ultimately competing against other districts, that would move to after school, yes?
Yes, so I believe this year at the intermediate school, we're looking to establish a bowling team. And then at the high school level, I think we are, I have to check my notes, but I believe we are going to continue the track team.
Awesome.
Ask, Jen, if you're on, I see as part of the grant that we need a liaison from each school to attend monthly Zoom meetings. Is that one liaison for the entire United program or one from each building?
No, we have our coordinator, who is Jess Vigil. She was approved last year. She is on those monthly meetings, and then she turns keys that information to the club advisors and the coaches.
Okay, and then so she'll go on and give the monthly report. It says schools.
Yes, she is our liaison between Special Olympics of New Jersey back to the district and turn keys it all.
Thank you.
Sure.
So
Any
it's,
other questions or comment on 8.1?
yeah, I'm sorry. So it's not like kids will say, I'm in this club and I have an activity. It's almost like an integrated curriculum or activities, if you will, and they're every day. So when we're talking club, we're talking like high school and middle school, correct? But when we're talking elementary school, it's just like activities like maybe SEL, athletics, stuff like that.
What
trying
we
to
did at
figure
the elementary, I believe, is a playground pals, so it would be during the playground time. So the students actually won't even really know that they're involved in an activity
Okay.
that is affiliated with Special Olympics.
Okay,
It'd be very natural in their
Okay.
environment.
very cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, do we have a second?
Yes.
Mhm.
We want to do the roll on this and then we'll
So we'll do
discuss.
the roll. Mrs. Abil,
Yes.
Mrs. Gillen,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes,
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Tellerico,
Yes.
Mrs. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller,
Yes,
8-0.
thank you. All right, discussion items?
Is there any
Okay,
discussions
so-
that we have in the financial section? Do you want to go through things?
Yeah, so I'm just.
Okay,
filling in,
so
if you wanna
A2,
go and-
comprehensive maintenance plan is something that we have to provide to the county office every year. It takes a look at what we are spending in maintenance, compares that to formularies that they put forward. You'll see it in the M1, and make sure that we're keeping enough money in our maintenance reserve and we're not going over what they're saying that we could have. And we break it out by school.
And so that maintenance plan does not project other expenditures that, such as roofing, or this is just the normal maintenance, everyday maintenance of the buildings and the facilities. Is that what that includes?
Well, if it's a roofing project, that would be capital.
That's what I mean, right? okay,
Right, so
that-
this is
I just wanna be
maintenance,
clear,
this
right?
is fixing things,
Right.
right,
This is like business as
The wear
usual,
and
this is
tear.
business as usual,
Exactly.
business as usual.
Right.
exactly.
Okay,
Business as usual doesn't change.
And if I
Okay.
remember correctly, this came to be to ensure that districts were not deferring so much maintenance. that
Exactly.
buildings were
It's
being
making sure
allowed
that you're
to
taking
fall
care
apart,
of
Yeah.
Right,
things,
so it
correct.
was to make districts
Correct.
documented.
So if you look, the first page is high level, and then you go down to the next page, so this is the first page. And then the next page looks at a 10-year trend.
okay.
All right, it's making sure that you're kind of staying consistent, you're keeping up with things,
Mhm.
to your point.
Well, the 1920 and then 2021 for the high school shows a pretty big jump from 287 to 457. Is that COVID related? Or maintenance?
I mean, all the schools really saw that jump.
saw
and-
the
and-
jump,
and,
yes, you
uh,
see them?
Down the line, they all
Yeah, I
saw
think a
pretty
lot
big
of that
jump.
had to do
Most
with
of it's
much
COVID.
of the COVID. You remember, we did all the air filters, we did
Correct.
purifiers, we did, the cleaning and all those things that we
You have
did
people
last
coming
year.
in, assessing air quality.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, we did, right, yeah. So I would say that's
Okay.
absolutely what that's for. yeah.
Any other questions on 8.2? Okay, 8.3 is, we received all the bids in for the solar panels. We did have a meeting with the committee and the architect, and we reviewed everything. Now, at this point, we are going to take this opportunity to do a scoring to determine whether or not we are accepting bids, not accepting bids, if we're going to align on one vendor. The one thing that came out of the meeting was a lot of the roofing does need a significant amount of work. So when you're looking at it, the cost of the project is a lot greater than what we initially had anticipated. So, we're going to sit down, do the scoring, make our recommendations next week, and potentially take it to a vote.
So just to put a finer point on that, because myself and Amy were in
Yeah,
those discussions.
correct.
So basically, in order for the solar panels to go up and be warranted, right, they really won't do it unless the roof itself has a 15-year warranty on it itself. And so some of the roofs can be kind of repaired a little bit to do this, but the basic, the fundamental guidance that we were given by the consultants that helped us with this was that we should really put a game plan together over a couple of years about how we fix each of the different roofs so that they can be ready for having solar panels put on it. That it would be too much of a project to do all at once. And that these projects are usually done in the summertime, and so you really can't do too many at one time. Otherwise, you won't get anything done, and you'll have roofing potential issues when school starts, which we don't want to have that. So
Can I
that,
just clarify, Jeff and Tina, I just want to clarify for the board, because the way it sounds is that our roofs are all leaking and like falling into.
no, they're just not,
That's-
they're just not 15-year.
Yeah,
They just don't
they
have 15-year
probably have
warranties on
8
them.
years in some of them have 8 years of life in them before they
Yeah.
would need to be replaced or something. It's not, there's nothing that like needs to be replaced next year or this year, but there are things that we can look at. So, like Jeff said, it's just that they have maybe 10 years or 12 years life and not 15. So,
Right.
so that's what Jeff's talking to.
And John Bosman really does understand what roofs need to be taken care of first. Some of them are on their third layer and they do need a new roof in certain sections because some of the roofs are multifaceted. So, I'm going to also sit down with him because he was very involved in this, and then we'll do the scoring with the team and we'll make our recommendations.
Yeah, and thanks, Amy. I didn't mean to alarm
No,
the world that
The
the
general-
the world is, that the roofs are falling in, because that's not the case. But thanks.
I knew that, and I'm sure a lot of us knew that, but there are public on here that maybe don't understand, like don't know our
Right.
roof as well as
Right.
we know them, I guess.
So to be clear, our roofs are all in good shape,
All in good.
all of
No,
them.
All in
I
good
don't think
shape.
he's saying that, is he?
Yeah, they're all in good shape right now. Yeah,
Well, none
it's
of
just,
them are
they're
leaking,
just.
none of them
no.
are, but some, they're
There's not a
older,
15
they're
year
older on their life
warranty.
expectancy. And to keep up with the maintenance that you want to continue to do,
Yeah,
you want to look at that and
they won't install,
No,
they
they
won't
won't
install new, they
install.
won't install new
Right.
solar panels on roofs that don't have at least a 15-year
15-year
warranty.
life left.
So
in
it's
it.
safe to say at least every roof has 5 years.
I don't know if
No.
there's a,
No,
Some have
one,
less than
one
5.
has the 3 layers and we're going to make recommendations to use capital next year to replace them.
Tina, I have a question. That looking through the two presentations, sunlight versus solar landscape. First of all, the scoring, I thought 15 points for experience was a little bit low.
Mhm.
I know that the bulk of it, the 50% is savings and,
Right.
efficacy for the
And
district.
cost,
And that's,
correct.
and that's great. But solar, now that we're talking about roofs, their estimate does not include any roofing work.
Well, that's part of the issue.
that'll be part of
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you looked at the overall impact,
Right.
it was way more sizable than what it had initially.
Right.
Yeah.
The initial, estimate, it's
Correct.
like getting an estimate and then saying, well,
So,
we're
so,
not
so
covering.
what some of
Yeah,
the
well-
team is going to discuss is, does it make sense to go out full blown? Or should we be looking at this building by building? Should we do roofing first and then solar? Right? So I want to have a conversation with the team prior to putting the scoring together. And I'd like to get the architect back on the phone to understand that as well.
And will they give us some kind of presentation? I remember we had one.
I put,
a
what
while
their
ago.
recommendation is in here, but I mean, if you would like them to come back in, I could certainly ask.
The architect or the solar
After you-
companies?
After you make
I
your,
think,
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
I think next week we'll be able
Our
to,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, and Ms. Gilman, the commit, when we sat down, the committee spoke to, as Jeff was saying, our consultants, and they gave us a little bit of a presentation. So I think, I don't know that it needs to be viewed by everybody, because I think it's lengthy and, but we can discuss that once we get the recommendation back, we can kind of discuss, because if the recommendation is not to do it, then I don't know if we need them to come in. If the recommendation is this is the way we should do it, then yes, I think it would make sense to have them come in.
And when you say come in, you mean the actual like winning solar company, not the architect, correct?
Well, the architect is the consultant that worked with the solar companies to put things together and the recommendation, and the architect was the one that gave the presentation.
Speasel.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
So I think that the approach, what Ms.
Yeah.
McGovern said, I think is the right thing. Let's get the people that have been involved in this. We'll do the scoring. We'll discuss it and we'll put a resolution forward once the board is understanding of it. and the approach that we would like to.
We need time to come up with a plan.
Yes,
Right. That's what we
absolutely.
need. We need time to come up with a plan.
All right, the grants,
Yes,
ESCI and LEAP.
ESCI. So every year, we have ESCA funds. And based on the funds, we allocate a certain percentage of behaviorists, right?
It's typically, those schools that are qualified for, what would be
Title
Title
I.
I funds.
Right.
And that would be, so our interventionists are, what really getting away from basic skills teachers, really
Right.
hiring interventionists. So it's a percentage of their salaries. This is every year. And that does not, Alex, to your question, that does not, that's how we budget. So it's not now, in some cases, some of this may be applied to some of the ESSER monies, but as a general rule, it does not open up
Extra money.
other extra money in the budget because we budget to put those percentages in based on our anticipated ESEA allocation.
And if your anticipation was too high, then you have to cover that in your budget. So when you determine that as you set the budget, once you know what you got for the grant.
Okay,
Okay.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and then we did talk a little bit about LEAP Challenge grant. So this was applied for in 19. We did not receive the grant, but then in 20, we received it. And it's based on shared services and trying to partner with the town. And what we asked the money for was to put co-location of maintenance and equipment all together and continue to leverage the shared service. So we have a lot of shared services with the town. We have security, they do lawn services for us, custodial, some custodial. So we want to continue to do that, which, today we met with the town. There is an interest, but we want to understand it more. And because these numbers were put together prior to COVID, we want to go back out and take a look at the assumptions and really understand what the total cost of the project is. And then based on that, we're going to sit down with the municipal leadership and see if we could partner together to maybe cover the development of what we're looking to do, putting the two locations together. So it would be basically taking the maintenance pieces out of here and co-locating it with the township.
And we had done that before with a couple locations in mind, as I remember.
We were looking at different things. I mean, one thing to remember that, the $150,000 grant, while it's great, only covers about a third of the overall project. It's about a 550, 560.
Based on estimates from 2000.
Right, and so that's part of this, so we have to determine if those estimates are significantly higher now, supply chain issues, different costs. So, that's one of the things that, it would be difficult. Obviously, nobody wants to turn away, $150,000. But if the original project is now 750,000 compared to the 550,000, we still have to cover those costs, right? So, all part of the conversation, but, agreeing with Tina, I think, the folks we met with today and why it's just different is that there's different folks in there right now
Right.
compared to when this
Everybody
grant
new.
was originally written. So they needed to be brought up to speed and they were very enthusiastic about, continuing our conversation and trying to see if we can figure something out. So, more to come on that.
And this has nothing to do with our 5-year comprehensive maintenance plan.
No.
Okay,
This would really be capital because you would be building something
okay.
or creating new
A
in
new
an
structure.
area that's there. Correct.
All right, some more to come on
Okay.
that. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tortorello. Moving on, instruction, education, student activities, Ms. Gilman.
Certainly, Ms. Fuller, there are 4 items for our consideration. 9.1, early field placement. Move to approve early field placement for the 2021-2022 school year in accordance with the attached memorandum dated October 6, 2021. 9.2, internship. Move to approve an internship for the 2021-2022 school year in accordance with the attached memorandum dated October 6, 2021. 9.3 professional development, move to approve the attached memorandum dated October 6, 2021. Staff develop professional development activities in accordance with District Policy 6471 and NJAC 6A:23A-7. The attendance at said activities is fiscally prudent and will promote the delivery of instruction and/or will further the efficient operation of the district. Reimbursement for travel and related expenses shall be according to the Department of the Treasury guidelines and NJOMB Circular 06-02 and A-87. And 9.4, the Wellness Committee update. Board of Education liaisons will give a Wellness Committee update. May I have a second on 9.1 to
Second.
9.3?
Okay, Mrs. Beal.
Joint discussion.
Oh,
Did they second?
yes.
Yeah, we have
Oh, I'm
we have
sorry.
to see if there's any discussion. Any
Is there any
questions on those
questions?
at
I
all?
apologize.
The 9.3, I think I had a question on,
All right, yes, that is not pertaining, I know it's called inclusive strategies, but it's really about working with all kids back from remote learning. It's not specific to special education, even though I know that that word is often associated with special education. Talking about one of the PDs, the Kane University PD. It's not specific to special education. Also, by the way,
Oh, that's why
that PD is required. That teacher teaches a dual credit class with Kane University on Holocaust and genocide studies. So we have professional developments that are available to her as the teacher of that course.
Oh,
And
that's
that's,
great.
there's a whole series of things, and that's one that she chose to take.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, could I go for all? Any more questions? Okay, Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
This is 9.1 to 9.3?
Yes.
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 Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mrs. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes to 9.3, and I'll recuse myself from 9.1 and 9.2.
okay, and Ms. Fuller.
Yes. Thank you. And Wellness Committee update,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern and Ms. Talarico.
So I just wanted to, the minutes are attached, so many of you have seen those, but, a couple things that I just wanted to point out to the board. All of our staff and school counselors have said that there is an increase in referrals this year. And that one of the things that, they've also seen more of is that kids are actually identifying themselves. So it's good the kids are coming forward, and asking for help. And we're really identifying a lot of kids a lot earlier this year. There's a lot of school avoidance. There's a lot of, separation anxiety, things like that. A lot of even in the younger grades, some of these kids that we were trying to figure out if there was a correlation between students that stayed home all year last year and students that were in, and if maybe there some of that. I don't think that there's much data to support that it's either way at this point, but there is a lot of, the referrals is just, they're doing a lot of great work, but a lot of work out there. So that's one thing I just wanted to say. The other thing I just wanted to talk about was, that's not on here, is that one of our elementary schools has done something that I thought was a pretty incredible idea, which was they've put up a picture and a name of each student in a room so that they can identify, so that staff can go in and identify who they have a relationship with. So if I had a relationship with Natalie, Grace Ann, and Alex, I could put my picture next to those names. So if any of those children are in crisis at any point, they kind of know an adult to go to in the building. And they also are going to try and be able to figure out if there are any students that don't have an adult maybe to go to. So I just thought it was an interesting thing that I figured the board would think is something awesome. And I think the other schools are looking at it as well. So that was just something that I wanted to bring up. As Jim said, or referred to earlier, the parent programs that we talked about that are going to happen, sorry, I'm just going to my notes, is the intro to the TAM model, which is great because that's what our teachers are learning right now, the trauma attuned model. So that's for the parents. Then the second one is going to be on the nurtured heart approach. The third one is on depression, and the fourth one's on caring for the caregiver. So I think those are great, great SEL for our parents, and they're going to be in October, January, March, and May. So as Jim said, quarterly, which, so those are just, I think, some positives that have come out of it. There was a lot of good discussion on here, and I think that a lot of people are just wanting to make sure our students, you know, are these students that are coming in and the referrals that are coming in are taken care of, and that we can try and get all our kids back to, you know, a place of feeling comfortable in our schools.
Amy, do you mind if I add a couple things just that popped in my head? So, yeah, I think the one thing that we're really taking a hard look at is, you know, where those referrals are coming from. A couple of the other members of the committee who serve in other schools echoed, you know, that they're seeing some of that as well, that they're seeing increases. Red Bank Regional, Long Branch, where we have parents who sit on committee and also work in those school districts, Howell. You know, we have 600 kids back in our schools this year that were not in at all last year. So, and had not been in for probably 19 months. So I think there is, I think in time, we're going to see that there's some correlations there between those kids who have been out for that long and now have come back. At the high school level, I think it's even more so because for much of that year, you know, if you remember last winter, we struggled with high school kids coming in, you know, school classes had 2 and 3 kids in them, if you remember, and that got much better in the latter part of the year. But I think, you know, that's a transition back for kids more so than I think a lot of the kids at the elementary and the middle school level where they were in most of the year and full time. Not to say that we won't have kids in those schools as well. And then, you know, just mentioning it is in the minutes, but just for the public, you know, we were discussing, as we were discussing ESS, we were also discussing possibilities with Rutgers. And we were accepted into that program as well. So even more training and even more folks getting involved in the, you know, the Nurtured Heart approach and the trauma attuned model. So that's good. You know, the more we can get trained and the more, and this will actually be a train, you know, people who will become certified and be able to then do more than just turnkey. They'll be able to train, officially train people in the Nurtured Heart approach. So all good things moving forward. You know, as a result, you know, as it relates to that.
Yeah, one other thing that we said too was, you know, last year we had a lot of do no harm, right? A lot of our kids, while they were expected to do work, and, you know, a lot of them we identified more to come in the summer, you know, we're not back to complete business as usual, but we're back to, you know, assignments are due when assignments are due, which I think is also causing some kids that didn't really have to worry about that for 19 months or, you know, in such an intense way, to get them all back to making sure that all, you know, they are good with that as well. So it's just it was interesting, as Jim said, that, you know, listening to the school, it was uncomfortably comforting to hear that other schools are having similar things and that it wasn't just Ocean Township having these problems. You know, we don't want any kids anywhere to have them, but it, you know, it was, you know, sad to hear that it's everywhere and good to hear that everyone's dealing with it in different ways. And we heard some different ways that other districts are dealing with it that were also like, oh, you know, similar to what we're doing. So it was a great meeting. We went over our time because of it all, which was good. So,
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. McGovern.
we're still at me.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Moving on to personnel, Ms. McGovern, again, thank you.
Yes. So since we went over them in executive session, I just need a second on 11.1 to 11.16.
Second.
Ms. Truba.
18. Oh, no,
Yeah,
I'm
those are
sorry. Yeah,
discussion.
discussion. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're ready. Is any discussion? Does anybody want to bring up anything?
I don't think it is.
upstairs.
Okay. Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. McGovern, Mrs. McGovern.
Yes.
Mrs. Telerico,
Yes.
Mrs. Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller.
Yes.
Okay, so 11.1 to 11.16, 8 to 0.
Thank
I'm
you
sorry,
for
one
pinch
second.
hitting there,
I'm
Ms.
sorry, I'm sorry,
McGovern.
1 second. Did you have to recuse yourself from any of the personnel vote?
Not these.
Not those?
Oh, wait, yes,
Contract, right?
yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
which one do you
Thank
want to
you for
recuse?
I'm
reminding-
sorry.
For instructionals, do I name or?
No, I would just say the instructional assistants.
Instructional
on,
assistants, thank you.
What was it, 11 point?
I want to put the
11.15.
11.15. Sorry.
Thank you
Yeah.
for reminding me.
Thanks, Ms. McGovern. Moving on policy, Mr. Weinstein.
Yeah, there's 2 items up for discussion. Emergency virtual and remote instruction program summary and emergency virtual remote instruction program.
Well, the one is just an
It's both
explanation. It's just an
explanation, right, okay,
explanation.
that's what I
Yeah, it's just
thought,
one policy. And this
This
is,
is a new
this
policy.
is a new policy that is required for districts similar to, as new things are coming out, they're creating policy. So all districts by the end of the month are required to submit their virtual or remote learning plan for the year. That remember that it's basically what is your plan if your district has to close for a long-term emergency situation. Remember that it can't count toward the 180 days unless it's really a health related and you're going to be closed for 3 days or more. So we have to submit this plan. So if we're in that situation, those days will count toward the 180 statutory days. We also are going to have to provide a specific virtual learning plan that will be on next week's agenda for the board to consider. It's really not going to be much different than what we've been doing when we've had to do virtual for the last year and change. But there's a checklist that has been provided to us by the Department of Education that we're going through, and we've got some recent guidance on that. So at next week's meeting, we'll have that plan for approval. It's due the 29th, but next week is our last meeting before the 29th.
Both of them are due on the 29th?
Well, the policy is to just be to be
Right.
created. This is first reading on the policy, and then the plan is due on the 29th, but it does require board approval. So we'll have that on next week's
Minutes.
agenda. Okay?
We don't have to make it.
Right.
Mandated.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those straightforward kind of policies that we really don't have much leeway in this. Right?
Good. Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. 13.1, public relations. Ms. Talarico, it's actually just the Board of Education goals and objectives. Go ahead, Ms. Talarico.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Fuller. The Board of Education Administration will discuss just one topic tonight, 13.1. Goals and objectives for the 2021-22 school year.
Thank you. Yes, and I apologize. I actually got some feedback this morning that I wasn't able to incorporate in because I'd already started my work day and wasn't able to do that before we got here tonight with giving everyone sufficient time to review. So I'll incorporate what I got and send it around so that we can talk about next week at our workshop. But were there any other thoughts after last week's discussion that anyone wanted to see reflected, in giving it thought after we completed last week? If not, I'll just incorporate everything we discussed and send it around for next week.
Do you think you're going to try to put these into what a final document looks like? Like what the
Yes.
final
Yeah.
5 points are?
Yep,
Okay,
that's the hope.
that's the hope.
That's the hope. But then to incorporate everyone's
Yeah.
Feedback from that. But yes, to give everyone something to react to. All right. Thank you, Ms. Talarico. So let's see, moving on. Is there any old business from the board?
I had a couple of items. Before Mr. Generon left, he had talked about getting some quotes on a district-wide text alert system. So I'm just wondering if we can kind of follow up with that and maybe get that. I don't want to pile everything on Tina, but, you know, just that it's on the radar and
Yeah, that was something we were looking to do as part of the budget process.
Yeah,
For next year? Okay.
but I thought we wanted some quotes sooner so that we could discuss it for possibly this year. Is that not the way anybody else
Ms.
understood it?
Weldon's trying to speak.
I think I understood it a mix of both. I did start asking for quotes to a few different vendors after that last meeting. But I had the understanding that was going through the budget process, but maybe I misunderstood that.
So we can do both. I mean, we can
We can
look at the
look at
quotes
it,
we
yeah.
get and see if there's room in the budget. So we
This
can look
year.
at it.
It was
I
not
didn't know you were
budgeted
looking-
this year.
Yeah, I didn't know Ms. Weldon was looking it up, so thank you.
Did you receive anything back?
Not yet.
Okay,
I have quotes from last year that I was following up on.
thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
wait, can I just, we do have a text alert system of some.
We
the
do.
Constant contact. So how would this be different from what the text alert system that we already have?
Well, the one we have is through the Code Red system, the Constant Contact. At some point last year, there was discussion about having a district-wide Remind account because many of our principals are using Remind and parents are familiar with Remind. It's a comfortable platform for our parents. Last year through budget, we decided not to spend those, to include that in the budget because we have a system that does the text message alerts. But, I think the discussion again is Remind a more user-friendly application for both parents and administrators to use on the go. Should they be out at the bus port, doing buses, things like that, and have to get a message out. I think that was the basis of the conversation.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think this might be my only one. I know you said you're going to update Accelerated Spartans next week. I've gotten a couple of questions from parents about the snack. I guess we only have the two schools that are starting tomorrow. I thought we were going to be giving free after-school snack because we approved that at like a recent meeting. So why are parents being told to pack a snack for their kids?
I'll have to check with Jackie Wagner about the after-school snack. I think the issue in speaking with them is, they're just telling the kids that they can pack one if they wish. They don't have to. But I'll check to see if we have
Sure.
free snacks available. Jackie can provide anything for the kids. We can look into it.
Because there's a difference of you can pack your kid a lunch versus, hey, we're going to have after school snacks for every kid participating in this program.
Right.
Like those are two different messages. So I think we just need to make
Yeah, we'll
that
confirm
a
it.
little more clear.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other old business from the board? Any new business from the board? Ms. Gilman?
Yes, I'm proud to announce that our district received the New Jersey School Board Association 2021 School Leadership Award. And it's also associated with our play, The History of Dating. Unfortunately, they are recognizing everyone, and we were invited on November 16th, which is the night of
meeting.
the night
Yes,
of our
they-
regular board
They
meeting.
emailed me today and I did tell them it was a night of a regular board meeting.
Yes.
So I told them I would get back to them as to how we can, to have some representation.
That would be wonderful,
Yes.
because I thought it was a very
Yes.
proud award, and I'm proud of our
Okay.
district and proud of working with everybody
Right.
this year. It was tough, but to get that recognition, I thought was wonderful.
Yeah, and Ms. Hayes, I think, nominated the group and it worked out very nicely. It's a recognized program. That's great, yeah. But yes, I was disappointed when I saw.
I know, I
that date,
looked at the date and said,
uh,
really?
come
It's
out
our
today,
regular board
yeah.
meeting.
So, maybe we can get some high school representatives or,
Yes,
we'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Great.
But we want to make sure we're there and, they get the honor that they.
definitely that they deserve.
Absolutely.
We have in the past a time or two sent a board member, if there's somebody that's, I'm happy to miss if you guys want a board member to Oh,
Well, I sit on,
Alex,
I sit,
I almost feel like
I
Alex
sit
should
on the
go.
board.
Anybody goes, Alex should go.
no, but it's for the Monmouth County School Board and
Right, and
I
you're on that,
sit on
so
it.
you're part of
that
that
board.
group.
that's me. Well, that's why I didn't know if
You
you.
did do also, you nominated.
But I didn't put two and two together that it was the same night. Maybe we've already changed the September date, so maybe we can change the November date, because that really doesn't make it good, but yeah.
We
should
try to
be
do that.
there.
I think
Yeah.
it starts at 6,
It
so I
does.
don't know if there's
Yeah.
some, I mean, often though,
Yeah, it's like dinner.
they say start at 6, but it doesn't really
Yeah.
start at 6.
It's 7:15 is when it really
Right.
starts.
Zoom there and Zoom
So-
back.
Yeah,
got a Porsche?
I'll send an email to Nadia too.
Yeah, or Ms. Tellerico as our public relations chair. Somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Any other new business from the board?
I do. I just have I don't know if it's a comment, that we're in new business, right?
Yes.
Since we've had a little bit of discussion, in the last couple of meetings, I guess, about district-wide communication, and how we can, better get the word out to parents, even to staff, the PR committee, Grace Ann and I wanted to, just move the conversation forward a little bit. We haven't met officially yet, but we decided we want to convene the committee, sometime in the next 2 weeks, and then, we're even working on a tentative agenda. And then, there's some topics maybe we could discuss. We don't really know the process, who would get the agenda, then do we meet, do we ask Ms. Fran, our PR person? Just some open for discussions now, but, as the two committee members, we figured we would
What do you say?
set a date and,
You're trying to figure out what a plan that you might want to have to enhance the current plan?
yeah, like
Okay.
just some talking points of things that the district could maybe improve upon, things we're doing well, things to highlight, some best practices.
Jim, did she report directly to you?
Good, Fran?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably want to see that, whatever the discussion is prior to, because it affects her work, right?
Yeah, I think the issue here is, we are a committee of the whole. That's how we operate. So the committee does not, most of the time when we have separate committee meetings, it's because of specific, there's a specific issue or plan or what have you that has to be looked at, like negotiations or like planning and construction or whatever. If public relations would like to meet separately as a committee, to just make some recommendations to the full board for further discussion as part of the committee of the whole, we can certainly set up a meeting of the committee and, the key players within the district and do that if you'd like in the next couple of weeks. We can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're getting at. Obviously, with the awareness that this committee doesn't, tell anybody what to do. It's more of a discussion.
Yeah,
and-
Well, I think to come up with some thoughts and ideas, we can bring them back to the board as a whole and then.
Yep.
kind of go from there.
I think Grace Ann and I were looking at the week after next, and we already have like a mock-up agenda, so I'm happy to share that.
Yeah, I
Or
would say
Grace Ann
if you
can
want,
share.
send it to me and then we can set up a date.
Great.
Any other new business from the board? All right, at this time, we'll go to public comment. As a reminder, if you're at home, please send a message to the help desk. And questions and comments can be on any topic at this time. Is there anyone here with us in the auditorium who'd like to ask a question or make a comment? All right, seeing none, Ms. Conway, could you help us go through the queue of folks at home?
Yes, Madam President, our first commenter is Shalom Lapkowski, and he has a question in regards to 11.18 and changes to tuition reimbursement. Please go ahead.
Hi, I was curious what 11.18 was about as a teacher that's taking graduate credits. Because you kind of it looked like you skipped it, so I'm just trying to figure out, how it would affect future tuition reimbursements.
Sure, I'll ask Dr. Stankovich to speak to that.
If it's part of the personnel agenda, so that's discussed in executive session. So that's why there's no public discussion of that, Sean. That's why it wasn't really discussed here in this open session. if it's my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, that's the folks who took classes back in the spring and summer. And it's the approval of those individuals and their credits that they've taken. I think they've approved, they've submitted, for their reimbursement and for their grades and what have you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know if it affected anything, future wise.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your question. Ms. Conway?
Our next commenter is Susan Green, and she has a question about the newly formed Communications Committee. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. My question relates to, in terms of communication, are we just talking about external communication or communication? This is really hard for me to kind of put into words. For example, with personnel, let's say a teacher is out on a prolonged leave or something like that, how would that be communicated to the parents? If a teacher or a staff member that would be involved in a child's education and framing it in special ed, if like when Esteli Levbarg was out, how would it be communicated to parents that this person was on leave and somebody may or may not be available to fill a vacancy? Is it just external communications like public relations, or is it more encompassing how people will be communicated with in general? Also, another mechanism, again, this is framed with special ed. We're getting a lot of emails from people who we may or may not know who they're from, know what to expect. Does this encompass that kind of type of communication? So I just want to get a sense of the depth of this committee and how far reaching they're going to be.
Sure, Ms. Green. I think we've talked about a few things. We talked about a enhanced district-wide text alert system that would be for more urgent, timely information. And then what Ms. Hayes brought up was convening a meeting of the Public Relations Committee of the board, which has been a standing committee for some time now, but having a meeting of the Public Relations Committee to talk about some district communications matters, which would be mostly external communications about happenings within the district. And then also, I think as it relates to communications, which is a topic that comes up a lot, I assume it'll be a focus of the next strategic planning session, which will kick off sometime in the start of the new year, but I'll ask
Can I
Dr.
just
Stanko
jump
if he
in?
wants to jump
And I think this issue came up last school year, if I remember correctly, Susan, and something like that, when that occurs, that should really be addressed at the building level. If a person's going to be out on a leave or something like that, the principals would normally be communicating with the families. This person's, if it's a week or two, maybe not necessarily, but certainly any long-term leave of absence where the original teacher is not going to be there for, and remember, last year was a very unique situation. I think we're, but we still do get, various leaves of absences for a number of different reasons. So that's really something that should happen at the building level. So if there's something an individual parent or is concerned about regarding a leave of absence, they should contact, the principal of the school, and that would be the best way to handle that.
Jim, I realize that, but over the course of our years in the district, that if you're not going on a board meeting and privy to your child's teacher taking a leave of absence, is there any formal mechanism that the board has to give the building principals guidance when they should be letting the parents know that there's a change in personnel or of the sort?
Yeah, and we've done that. I've communicated to the principals that when they have somebody who is going to be out for an extended period of time, we should absolutely be letting the parents know that, and ideally be introducing the person who's going to be there and take that person's place. So that absolutely should be happening. And I know that we've discussed in the past that there have been times when it hasn't necessarily happened. So that after that, we've made a point of making sure that when that happens in the future, that we make sure we communicate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Ms. Conway, is there anyone else in the queue?
No, Madam President, there are no further commenters.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of the meeting.
So we're gonna move to adjourn.
Motion
Can
to
I get a
adjourn.
motion, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Have a second. The meeting is adjourned. See you all next week.
That wasn't even 2 hours.